All right, so jumping into module 3 now, we're going to talk all about monetization and value creation, give you some ideas in terms of how you can actually leverage launching a token in different ways and contrasting that even against maybe more traditional platforms. So yeah, there's a few things to consider and what you're doing with the fees that you earn. So we should really be thinking beyond the traditional creator economy here. And here's just a list of things to keep in mind. So revenue streams for creators. Of course, we've gone over this a little bit already before, but transaction fees from the token trades. So that's 1% of the total volume of trades that you're getting as income, essentially. So other things you could do is you can have exclusive merchandise for sale to the community. So, like hats and shirts, like that stuff is super popular. And people will buy it if, you've gone through the effort and built a community like we've been going through here, trying to give you a foundation for. So a big one I'm going to talk about probably a little bit more than others is the collaboration opportunities with other creators. As an artist, you kind of think about what that means to you. But, just speaking from what I'm seeing going on in the Believe ecosystem, this is, there's a reason why I was drawn here and why I'm ultimately kind of sitting here being the person to give you this information. I have professional experience in a similar model with a platform where we have a lot of creators who are coming to us and we're kind of distributing their content or distributing their projects. And I found out about Believe pretty early because it's a tokenized model of the same sort of thing I was already doing. Naturally, I wanted to get involved. And when I saw Believe Capital, what they're doing with, trying to actually legitimately cultivate and help a community and collaboration to occur, I found my way here very naturally because of that. And, it's something that I think is good. And if the right values are kind of instilled and we can educate a little bit with these Believe University courses, that's ultimately the goal here. And it should be the goal for you individually as well with your project. Let's now talk a little bit about value creation strategies. So here's a concept: scarcity through quality, limited edition content or experiences. So maybe there's a time limit on how long something's going to be available, or there's like I said, limited quantity. But trying to think about what that means as an artist. Maybe maybe you release an album that's only available to a few people. I don't know. That's kind of a crazy idea, but you can think of other things. Exclusivity through access, things only token holders can participate in. So it can be events, or it can be maybe for a musician, maybe you do like a listening party, all kinds of things. Think about what might be relevant to the type of content that you're producing. Community through interaction, and we touched a lot about that in the previous module, but your community is super important. It's a bit sort of ethereal, like you're not actually seeing every time you talk to somebody something come into your bank account or whatever, but recognizing that over time that sort of consistent behavior and doing those things that we touched on actually do translate to a successful project, and it's only something you'll experience in the long term most of the time. Ties in perfectly to the last point here, which is growth through engagement. An active community with things going on, there's different events, there's something to look forward to, that's going to directly or indirectly increase the token value. All right, so shifting off of that just a little bit, let's talk about token economics for creators. And you're going to have these fees coming in. Think about like how you're going to utilize them. Pay yourself maybe 40%. And again, we're just throwing out some examples here that may be fairly common. So, your time, equipment, software, and production costs, that all should factor in and, make that adjustment accordingly. Community management. So once your community starts growing, you're not going to be able to keep things under control. And you can take that any way you think it to mean, but eventually you're going to need moderators and additional platform tools to keep things sane, maybe is one way to say it. So 25%, maybe that's a reasonable kind of thing to go off of as an example. Marketing and growth, giveaways, promotions, collaborations. We want to reserve some of that. Those can be strong incentives as well. One time, again, going back to my personal experience doing sound design when I was promoting some different sound libraries and things, I actually did a giveaway for a analog synthesizer. You know, if you participated in or you signed up for my newsletter and you downloaded whatever I was offering, there's a chance you could get that. But think of something like that for yourself. Consider just, you know, reserving a portion of these fees and what you're earning. So maybe 15% for like a rainy day fund, or to buy back your own token. You can play around with that number just a little bit, but there's always a new way to use some of this that's coming in, and you want to have something set aside to take advantage of it. More ideas, you can consider doing buybacks maybe when you hit major milestones. Again, if you kind of announce that you're going to do a buyback at X time for X reason, that gives the community something to look at and like, oh, okay, I know like this is coming up, and kind of increases their confidence at the very least. Maybe limited edition releases, so merch NFTs that require using the token for you to actually get it. The bottom line, you just ask yourself, what would my fans find most exciting? What would you find most exciting if you were the fan? And come up with ideas, make a list of those things, and keep it on the back burner for when you need it. Let's talk a little bit about just general strategy and some value justifications. So comparing the idea of launching a token to maybe running your content through a traditional platform like Patreon. Maybe something on Patreon, maybe a lot of contributors will charge in a range between $5 to $50 a month. It's something you commonly see. So how does this compare against that? One thing maybe worth emphasizing is the alternative for this versus a long-term subscription service. So it's a one-time purchase that you make. Another possible benefit you can kind of think about is the community ownership versus platform dependency. So maybe you are using Patreon, or you have in the past. What would happen if Patreon disappeared? Or what if, they change policies and you don't like the policies anymore? I mean, there's any number of things can happen. And if that's like your main source of income, it's not a great feeling when you actually have to sit down and think about that for an extended period of time. It's not something that's fun. So in summary, whether you're kind of moving from another platform or you're just looking for a way to sort of de-risk from that a little bit, good thing is you already know how to keep a community engaged if you've been successful there. So that should wrap it up for Module 3. Continue to dive deeper. There's plenty of information here. If you need more or have questions, you can kind of find some answers. And appreciate your time for watching these. Hopefully it was been helpful.